What is up, guys, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy HMK once again, and if you know me, obviously, I'm a huge Legend of Zelda fan, Kingdom Hearts fan, and Super Smash Bros. Fan, as you can tell by my stuff. Anyways, this video is part of the compilation videos that I'm starting to do all over again when it comes to explaining various mysteries and lore and maybe even developmental standpoints of your favorite games and ideas. When it comes to Kingdom Hearts, that's how we started things. We're actually doing one for The Legend of Zelda, but I decided to do it in a way that's very familiar to me and very familiar to you if you're a part of the OG HMK crew. And that is just having the stuff, me talk to you, unfiltered, unscripted, but it's all in my head. If you guys watch my live streams, which you definitely should, twitch.tv/HMKiller, then it's gonna be very close akin to what I do there in explaining stuff. If you guys saw the title, then you already know we're gonna be talking about our boy, the Lord of Darkness, the King of Evil, the Demon King, the Gerudo King, Ganondorf Dragmar. And how does he have pointed ears in certain Legend of Zelda games? Specifically the Wind Waker in Twilight Princess, after his appearance in Ocarina of Time. But why do you think that matters? It could just easily be a design choice, but it's a little more than that. And you've probably seen a bunch of videos that already tackled this subject, but I'm gonna do it the HMK way, which is gonna be very loosey-goosey, very hyped, and a little spicy if you guys are ready for that. Let's get right into the noise, and if you're down for that, please like, share, favorite, and most importantly, subscribe to your boy. Hit that bell to know when my videos go live. Let's get right into it. In Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf, the king of the Gerudos, has rounded ears, which is something that is not that staple when you look at the Legend of Zelda, right? You know, Link, Zelda, other characters, they all have pointed ears, akin to things like elves or anything like that. Even though the Kokiri are the only ones that don't grow up, but there's different versions of elves, man. That's like one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to narrative of fantasy media and all that good jazz. There is like adult-sized, adult-grown elves that are like a million years old. Besides the point, I digress. So Ganondorf has rounded ears because he is not Hylian. The pointed ears is a trait that is shared among the Hylians and the Sheikah tribe. Other humanoid tribes have been seen without pointed ears, specifically the Gerudo and the Ordanians in Twilight Princess. And of course, we have all the other tribes and races when it comes to the Zora, which have very fin-like ears, if they have ears, and the Gorons, which have holes, you know, that holes in the side of their heads, that's where the noise goes in. Alright, Ganondorf started off with round ears in Ocarina of Time. But then, as we know, the timeline split happens after Ocarina of Time, and the same Ganondorf that we see in Ocarina of Time goes on to be in both Twilight Princess and the Wind Waker. Two eventual outcomes when it comes to two different timelines that comes from Ocarina of Time, the adult and the child timelines. In the adult timeline, Ganondorf in the Wind Waker has pointed ears. But aren't you supposed to be the same Ganondorf? Are you sure it's not just a, you know, somehow how they design things in development or whatever? Then also Ganondorf in Twilight Princess, which is the same Ganondorf in Ocarina of Time, also has pointed ears. Why is that? Well, it has to deal with some spicy outcomes when it comes to how Nintendo and the goddesses treat their chosen people. That's right, the blood of the goddess that flows within those of her children. And the children of the goddess, the Hylians. Yes. Oh boy. The Hylians have pointed ears for a very specific reason, not just a design reason. I mean, of course, a design reason that has a reason, because Ordanians, which look very much alike Hylians except for rounded ears, but they're not from Hyrule, they're from Ordon, they're from out of there. They're not part of the tribe of Hylians. They are not part of the gods' chosen people. The reason why they have pointed ears, as specified within various amounts of Zelda lore, is that they have pointed ears so that they're able to hear messages from the gods. The longer the ear, the more range you have to hear messages. from outer dimensions and sacred lands and holy temples and yeah. So that, of course, that boils down to the attribution of the gods creating the Hylians as their little babies, their chosen people. Yes, and they have pointed ears so they can hear messages from the gods. And of course, pointed ears do point towards, a type of magically infused blood, which still doesn't make sense because Ganondorf was able to use magic regardless. But Ganondorf, as we all know, is the offspring, the reincarnation of hatred that came from Demise. And Demise also has rounded ears, so consider that. The Hylians have pointy ears for a reason. Same reason probably the Sheikah have pointy ears, because the Sheikah are literally the gods' guardians. They serve the goddess Hylia. They are the agents of the goddess, and then in turn they became agents of the royal family because Zelda became Zelda. Hylia became Zelda. And then the Kokiri, the Kokiris are magically infused beings that are children of the forest, and then the forest is actually one of the very big important things when coming to relate to a specific goddess, specifically Feora. So I mean, that could explain why the Kokiri have pointed ears. And they are very magically in tuned as well. The Gerudo having rounded ears, or Danes having rounded ears, is because they were not, specifically created as Hylians. As the gods' chosen people, they do not have the ears necessary to hear messages from the gods, because you do not need to phone tap messages from the gods that are specifically being sent to Hylians, because they love the Hylians. So how did Ganondorf get pointed ears? That's very simple, because Ganondorf only wants one thing. And we all know that Ganondorf wants one thing, and that one thing is, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Triforce. And the Triforce is officially defined as a relic left behind by the gods that contain their essence. And as we all know, Ganondorf is destined to have the Triforce of power time and time again. And then when Ganondorf gets the Triforce in Ocarina of Time, he keeps it going into Wind Waker. But of course, the Child Timeline, which we're going to get to in a little bit, it happens a little differently, but he still gets the Triforce of power regardless. Ganondorf could have easily gained pointed ears by housing the essence of the goddess, Din specifically, within him. That divine, sacred essence from the relic of the Triforce of Power that is designated in his hand. It's not like he has it physically. If you're destined to hold a Triforce piece, you will have the sign. If you're not destined, then you just hold it like a brick. With that essence within him, that could nurture and change his appearance, thus giving him the ability to hear divine messages of the gods by pointing his ears. It's basically like if he had a blood transfusion, but divine blood transfusion, like injected from the Triforce of Power. That happens, and then of course I feel it's going to be a really slow process. It's not going to be like that. From Ocarina of Time into Wind Waker, he gained pointed ears from his long time with the Triforce of Power, because he was sealed with it at the end of Ocarina of Time. And then going into Twilight Princess, he never got the Triforce of Power the same way that he would have in Ocarina of Time going off the Child Timeline, because Link came to the past, warned them all, and then Ganondorf was like, no, and he's taken away and eventually attempted to be executed. And that didn't work out because why? He had the Triforce of Power. By some divine prank, when the Triforce was split forcefully by Link coming back from the future to the past with the Triforce of Courage in tow, that kind of had to force the Triforce split in that timeline between wisdom and power. And guess where power is gonna go? That's right, your boy Ganondorf. And he could have had it for the longest, but it didn't reveal itself until it needed to. When Ganondorf's life was in danger, execution, no, but I can't die. I can't die. He had the pointy ears that whole time, because it did happen a good chunk. Like, the execution didn't happen like right when he got captured. That explains why he would have pointed ears. But then I know you're asking that question, but HMK, what about the Gerudos in Breath of the Wild? Why do they have pointed ears? Well, that's very, very simple, my friends. Very simple. Because the Gerudos had to get down. They had to get down. They had to go to town. They had to go to Pound Town. Because in the very nice way that Nintendo wants to put it, is that the Gerudo, which is a tribe made entirely of women until every 100 years, a male is born, and the male is destined to become king by birthright, and I'm not so sure about that. That's kind of, yeah. They constantly go out to Hyrule to look for boyfriends. We're not stupid. We know why they're going out. Because there's no men in the village, so they gotta go out and find some for themselves to procreate. Like, we got all these Gerudos here, we have all these Hylians here, and then, you know, the traits between the two mixing throughout eons of years, because Breath of the Wild takes place more than 10,000 years after whatever last, at least whatever last Zelda game that takes place in whatever timeline that it takes place in. That's another can of worms. Case in point is that it is eons, it's eras, it's years upon years upon years. The Gerudos at that point in time may have gained the traits by having Hylian blood in them by the time of Breath of the Wild. And then that could also explain their eye color, but then that's the whole deal with genes that I'm not too attuned in. I just say, like, okay, so Gerudos are known for having yellow eyes, and Hylians are known for having blue eyes, and I see a lot of green eyes in Breath of the Wild, so, yeah. Anyways, that is how Ganondorf probably came to have pointed ears, and that's Ganondorf's pointed ears explained. And I hope you had a good time with this video, and let me know about this, you know, this presentation style, if that's something you're down for, and if you have any questions when it comes to any piece of confusing lore within the Legend of Zelda, Kingdom Hearts, or Smash Bros, or anything like that, leave a comment in the comment section below, and we'll tackle that in another video. So guys, until the next one, this has been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.